Hi, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our latest episode of Talking. Today, it gives me great pleasure to introduce you to, I'm sure, somebody that most of you know. It's the CEO of Pulse, who are about to be renamed Ovio, but we'll go into that. Former Chief Operating Officer of Liquid Friday, where I think you don't mind me mentioning, Joe, you took them to Best Umbrella, over 3,000 clients at the Contracting Awards last year.
Yeah,
Two,
absolutely.
two times board member of the FCSA,
Yep,
and
three, but
also
we're not counting.
and also nominated for Inspirational Men's Day Award, which I believe, looking at the internet, is tomorrow night.
It is tomorrow night, yeah, down in
So,
Portsmouth, yeah.
yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I'll give you who I think is one of the nicest guys in our industry as well. So, put that out there as well. Joe Taffurelli.
Thanks very much,
For an
guys. Nice to see you.
introduction.
Excellent. Welcome aboard, Joe. Thank you very much for joining us. So I think probably one of the best places to start is obviously the news that you rebranded from Pulse to Ovio, and obviously the
Yeah,
name change. So whilst to start off, do you want to give us a couple of minutes on why the change and
yeah,
update the
absolutely. Yeah,
audience
I
on that?
think, yeah, I mean, it wasn't necessarily in the roadmap, I can tell you that much this early on. But yeah, what we sort of rapidly discovered is whilst Pulse, is a great name and we've really enjoyed it and it did fit, it just felt quite cluttered. There was too much sort of noise, too many brands that have got either similar names or similar products for us. So yeah, we wanted something that was really distinctive, something that was ours, and something that gives us a little bit more room to grow because what we're doing right now is phase one and we're really enjoying it, but there's plenty more to come over the next sort of 4 or 5 years from us. So yeah, OVO, I mean, I've already been asked, where does the name come from? What does it mean? I'm gonna be honest, it doesn't really mean anything. It is a genuine, made up, pretty out there word. But do you know what? It's something that the team have already fallen in love with internally, and it took root within a matter of days. So hopefully, it does the same in the market.
Excellent.
I like the name. It
Yeah.
sounds like the next Xbox version, Xbox Ovio.
I- Yeah, yeah, I'm not going to go and fight Xbox. It's mine first.
Excellent.
Love it. So, obviously, thanks for that, Joe. And it's safe to say you've had quite a career journey. Obviously, from 13 years at Liquid Friday to now, obviously, CEO of Ovio. Hopefully, I've said that right.
Yep.
Can you kind of walk us through that path and obviously what is inspired it to move and sort of play out your timeline, basically?
Yeah, no worries, mate. I- I've yet to find anybody that has had a desire to join the umbrella industry from birth. It is a industry that I think when I joined, definitely, 13 odd years ago, it wasn't known at all, really. I think it was a space that was always very much, behind the scenes, back office. But yeah, for me, I mean, I actually started Liquid Friday as a temp. So I started there as maternity cover for an amazing customer service manager, who is still at Liquid, by the way, in a different role. And yeah, for me, I sort of clicked immediately with the team, with the business, and then overall with our industry. I got involved in the FCSA quite early on, and then from there, I kind of met you guys. I've absolutely loved our industry. It is fast. Let's be honest. I think
Yeah.
in the 13 odd years I've been in industry, coming into 14 years, we've maybe had 1 year, maybe 2 years where we've been let off as such in the legislation wise or in just whatever is going on in the economy. So it's very fast. I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
And I think good umbrella is going to stay and definitely grow over the next few months with all the changes that are coming.
No, I agree. And I think I'm still recovering from the Liz Truss. Yeah, Scott.
Yeah, I know. So's the lettuce, I think, to be fair. But yeah, it's a tough space, right? Like we're financial services, we're HR, we're recruitment,
Yeah.
we're contingent labour. We are constantly under the spotlight. I don't know why. I get why. But I think, yeah, for us, the industry in on itself is it's fantastic. You know, yes, there's like most industries, there are some players that I wouldn't associate with and don't associate with because of compliance reasons. But that's not different whether you're an umbrella provider, whether you're an accountancy practice, whether you're an estate agent, whether you're a, you know, whatever it is in professional services. Unfortunately, there's people that will try and take advantage. So I'm not one of them. I don't associate with anyone that is. And there's a substantial market out there that is needed and is respected and always does the right thing. So that's where I put myself.
Excellent.
Amazing. Love that.
Just following on from where you said there that nobody's born wanting to go into umbrella, I've got to be honest with you. Before I came in this industry, I'd never actually heard of umbrella payroll.
Me neither.
You know, it was one of the first things I was told at a potential interview. You need to go and research this, and it was totally brand new to me, totally. So
yeah. And we don't actually make umbrellas, so it'd be damn sight easier if we did. But we don't.
Had branded umbrellas before. But you know, we've probably dropped a couple of those off in our time at with you, Joe.
Yeah.
We'll never forget the account text where that lovely lady came up to us and said, "Oh, you do umbrellas? Can I have one, please? It's raining out."
Yeah. That was the lady that was just collecting off every single stand, wasn't it? I mean, she had about a dozen.
She was lovely, though. She was lovely.
Absolutely. She looked like a Sherpa. Well, she had that much stuff. But,
a professional expo visitor.
Yeah. So, Joe, obviously, your Liquid Friday journey, you went sort of head of employee care and compliance and worked your way all the way to COO. What do you think were the biggest lessons you learned climbing that ladder?
Oh, there's plenty there, mate. Leadership, I suppose, is the most important thing. It's actually, I don't want to say easy being a manager, but if you're managing people and you're supervising people, that is a bit of a different skill set to leadership.
Yeah.
And it's something that I recognize really early on. There are some fantastic managers and supervisors. They don't always make very good leaders. So yeah, for me, you know, that how to work with people is really important. And I think, you know, just outside your organization, it's critical. So all the work I did within the industry and continue to do within the industry, whether inside or outside of sort of FCSA circles, showing real leadership in our space is really what surprised me, because I'm not necessarily the most natural kind of outgoing person. I can be, you know, same as everybody else, have that imposter syndrome kicking in. You know, when I go to events, we've got a fantastic event tonight. We've got the REC Awards tonight. You know, I've been doing it now for 13 years. I've probably gone for 10 years. I'm still nervous walking in the room. It's not my natural place, if that makes sense. But I love the industry. I love the space. I think, you know, recruitment is extremely interesting. So for me, it was really learning how to lead and how to inspire others. Because let's be honest, it's difficult in a space where your industry is beaten up on a regular basis on the news. It's really difficult to stay positive. It's really difficult to grow. It's really difficult to justify your existence. And certainly something I've unfortunately had to do for the last for a decade or so. But yeah, working with people, I think, is what's kind of really, you know, it's something I've learned definitely over that journey.
No, and I think it's a sector that's definitely needed. I don't think people realise it's not as easy as make everyone pay PAYE, because there's a reason why this industry exists. You've got people on different assignments. I think the recruitment side is exciting me as well, because obviously you could have one person working off of four different recruitment agencies, depending on the sector. You can't have them employed by 3-4 different as a PAYE. That just logistically doesn't make sense either.
No, absolutely. And I think, you know, umbrella exists as a term because that's what we do. We're an umbrella, as in we shield everyone, you know, beneath us, and we are a catch-all. Because ultimately, if you know, the example I always give, and I've given to particularly a lot of the work I've been doing with Parliament and MPs and that sort of stuff, is just explaining our space. And the easiest way to do it is if you get them to imagine a chef or a teacher. A chef's the easiest one because they might be doing a shift in a pub in the morning for the breakfast, and then they go to another employer for lunch, and they go back to the pub in the evening, and then they do that 3 or 4 times in separate locations in a week. So you're saying, can HMRC, can the system work out that this individual's had 10 employments in a week, and they may not exist next week? The answer is no. RTI is not built for that. Umbrella is. So we are 100% that kind of catch-all, and then obviously the benefits to the contractors are huge with that.
Even for things like in the bigger picture, mortgage, personal loan, credit.
Yeah.
People sometimes forget that aspect of, like, it's so crucial, especially in
employment rights. We tend to, the umbrella industry does engage. I can't say this for everybody, but most people engage contractors on overarching contracts of employment in umbrella. They don't necessarily do that in recruitment. They're engaged as agency workers, which are a different classification of workers and have less rights. So there are, benefits to the worker. We're able to use our collective bargaining power as an umbrella to to get them really good employee benefit schemes. We're able to give them fantastic pensions. That's something we're able to do because we have scale, and I think that's something that's often missed because there's such a focus on purely the payroll. It's a bit of a kind of joke between most umbrella leaders that I speak to. The payroll is the easy bit. And our payroll managers will not be happy that I said that, but the payroll is sort of the easy bit. It's the employment that's the tough bit, and that is sort of negated and forgotten by either the press or sometimes the recruitment industry itself. Who we serve. So it's a big beast umbrella. It's not a one size fits all.
No, I agree, and I actually think payroll should be the easiest way. Obviously, I'm biased. We're a payroll solution, and we try and make your lives as easy as possible. But it should be, though. You're right. It's the more crucial bits, which kind of brings me to my question, really, because it's obviously so obvious how you're passionate about the industry and the bigger picture and the compliance. So that, I'm assuming, is obviously what led you to found. Is it Auxilium Business Services?
That's a consulting business that I have. I obviously engage with directly some recruiters and some umbrellas. There's a lot of advice required out in the market. So that's always worked well for me to do it in that sort of that way.
And do you know what? I think if someone's going to do, I think you're the right person to do it. Then your knowledge is great. So I take it obviously from what was. It's all right. I'll edit that bit out.
Yeah, I'll write you a little marketing check. Thanks.
I'm joking. It's fine. No, but I think that's obviously what you've seen a gap there, though, isn't it? Because I don't think there is many services like that as much. Obviously, there are people like yourself who are very well knowledge in the industry who do provide advice, but I don't think there is as much on the bigger picture on the employment as there should really be, as you said. So I mean, that's great to see as well.
You go to all the events I go to, we are inundated with lawyers giving advice, and that's absolutely critical because I am not one. But sometimes, taking lawyers' advice and then understanding how that's practically applied, they're two different things. So I think, for us and for me, that's why that exists as an option for people, and I'm more than happy to obviously talk to people. But it's that bigger picture, really. It's not about my business versus, another umbrella. That I don't think, whilst our industry is extremely competitive, it's also extremely collaborative, and that's rare. That's why that started, to be honest with you.
I think we've seen that collaboration a lot in the last 6 months as well. I think you've seen a lot of collaborations between umbrellas, recruiters, even service providers as well in the recent weeks as well. I think we all generally do care about the industry, and I think this collaboration is what our industry might get kicked down, but we'll always stand up.
Always. Yeah, and I think, seeing you guys as software providers, club together and help us speak with one voice was super critical to the whole umbrella reforms that are coming through, is that we did have that one voice. and we all said loud and clear, you know, we want regulation, we need regulation. I've been asking for it for over a decade. This is a stepping stone to regulation. I appreciate that, but we don't want those bad actors, you know, to exist, and neither do you guys. So it makes sense, and yeah, it was very much needed.
Definitely. So, Joe, obviously, after 13 odd years at Liquid Friday, you know, why the Indigo Group? And what was it about the opportunity of the Indigo Group that made you wanted to step in there?
Yeah, I think for me it was, and more you will see more as we come into the new year. The Indigo Group are, you know, a very diverse group. You know, it has lots of arms to it, and that is exciting to me. So I met Ian, who's our group CEO, and we kind of clicked on a very, you know, on a personal level. That was really important to me. Culture and sort of team fit is really important, and I think, you know, the Indigo guys 100% have that in bucket loads. But the biggest thing for me on a kind of selfish level is that, you know, well, I want to continue to grow in, you know, in my career, and I know there's not really anywhere else I can go from here. But from a kind of CEO point of view, what did I want to do? Well, I wanted to create something for the future. I think that whilst Umbrella is 100% going to stay around and deserves it, it needs to evolve.
Yeah.
So I have the ability within the Indigo Group to access technology stacks that I don't have anywhere else, and no one else does. So I wanted to work with a group that's got that kind of forward thinking, tech first ability and ethos. And yeah, so I 100% sort of saw that as an opportunity and took it. So I can't go too much into what we're going to be just, you know, discussing early part of next year, and you'll see lots of marketing about it. But there are solutions out there to the joint several liability. It needs someone to pull them together, because at the moment there is no silver bullet, and I would never say there is. But there are parts of silver bullets dotted around, and I think I can definitely create one.
Yeah.
So bringing that all together into one place is my goal over the next sort of, well, the last few months and the next few months, to bring something to market that is exceptional. It is tech enabled and fit for the future.
That's
Look
very
forward to seeing
exciting.
it.
So sorry?
Look forward to seeing it.
You will, mate. Don't worry. It won't be as swanky as your Kintech launch
right, okay.
in Manchester, because that was very, very good.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Joe, I hope I'm not wrong, and I think from what you just said earlier about managers and leaders, I think it kind of really brings me to this question I wanted to ask you. Because obviously my perception of you, and I think, is that you're a transformational leader. Would you agree with that?
I hope so. You should probably ask the people I lead more than me, but yeah, no, I get it. I think this is that difference between leadership and management. You know, a manager will come in and maintain the norm, and will keep you going, and will hit targets, and that's great. That's not what a leader does. A leader comes in and wants to change, and is willing to make big and bold decisions and take risk. That is something that is often overlooked, I think, by new leaders and people when they're looking in, is actually how much of a, you know, a balanced risk you're willing to take. And for me, yeah, that is really important. And you can only do that if you bring people with you, which I know is a bit of a cheesy kind of, you know, MBA 101 type conversation, but it's true. You know, I think in the past that is something I've been, you know, really good at, and it's something that I continue to you know, strive to do.
No, and I think we can definitely see that. I was actually going to ask you how have you applied that to Ovio, but I think you've actually answered it already, because I think by the sounds of what you've got planned for next year and the bigger picture of the group, it sounds like you're already transforming them with no, excuse the pun.
Yeah, I think yes, but you've got to have the right scaffolding around you, and I think that's what's really, really important, is that I'm in an environment that is willing to try new things, is willing to, or actually more than willing, it pushes you to try new things, fail fast, however you may think about it. And yeah, with with my own team within Ovio, that is something that we're really quite hot on. No one really, well, the legislation is not written right yet. Well, I'm sure it is somewhere,
Yeah.
but we haven't seen it. So the devil's always in the detail. So we know that based on what's been sort of told to us, there are solutions out there. I think what's really important is partnering with the right partners to say we don't know what's actually going to happen yet, but neither do you. But we do have plan A, B, C, D, E. That's quite rare in my space. I think people tend to go out with this is the magic bullet. Please, sign up to this, sign up to that. We will fix it. And sometimes people jump the gun. I hopefully am not one of those. I would rather wait to see what the detail is before I go out and put my name and my company's name to a solution.
Excellent. Makes sense, definitely. So what's the one thing you'd want your team and clients to feel under your leadership, Joe?
Trust.
Yeah,
I think is the most important
especially
thing
in this industry.
Yeah. I will never understand why, this is true for the last 13 years, why a company is more than willing to give us tens of millions of pounds of their money, but doesn't want to go for lunch. Like, I don't know why we're not building stronger relationships. That is something that I've always been quite hot on. And I think it's really, really important, because when something comes down the line, and something will, you need to be able to pick up that phone and the other person answer it. And be brutally honest with you. So, trust is the most important thing, because I think that then builds onto, security and all that sort of stuff. The commercial side of things in our space is actually relatively established. And I don't think, there are some people already going out into the market throwing around some crazy ideas. I think the fundamentals of the supply chain isn't going to change that much, and shouldn't. For me, that bit's kind of already locked in. We know how to do that. We've been doing that for decades. It's how you deliver services. It's how you create relationships. It's how you become a strategic partner. Because we can add so much value to our recruiter clients if they're willing to see us in that way, and not a payroll provider.
Yeah, cool.
That makes sense. And it sounds like you guys are obviously already very much preparing as well for next week as well.
Yep.
What are you expecting in the next week, out of curiosity?
Mate, I was blown away.
Yeah, let's put Joe on the spot.
Jesus. Well, look, I think ultimately whatever is happening in Treasury, there's nervousness. That is really obvious. I think she won't say she U-turned because she never announced the 2p tax rise. It kind of felt like, why would you go through all the pain and the work and then not do it? So I was a bit surprised by the confirmation that income tax isn't being changed, because it would be like all of us as businesses going out writing to all of our clients, basically securing the fact that we're going to increase our prices, and then we just don't.
Yeah.
Like, why would you go through the pain and not do it? So surprised by that. What do I think is going to happen? I think they are.
We'll take our umbrella hats off, because if at the end of the income tax, something that affects us, affects our families, affects our friends and stuff. And and so the purpose of our talking is we do want to just talk. So I think the income tax thing is very interesting, because I think you're right. I think everyone's preparing themselves to be what I think was something like £500-600 on average worse off a year, which is a lot of money. At the end of the day, that's basically a holiday or something could potentially be wiped clean off. So for her to say that, I think it's because of the backlash, because I think they can't lose any more voters.
Well, they can. This is the thing. This is leadership. This is coming back. They can. Yeah. They've still got 3 more years after this to claw it back.
Doing the right way.
And I think ultimately, they're not going to lose their majority unless there's going to be a massive backbench rebellion or something. I don't know. But leadership is about making tough decisions and taking risks.
Yeah.
And it felt like, I joked and put up, I put a post on LinkedIn about waking up to Rachel Reeves. No one knew she was about to make that speech, and that was a surprise. She'd done like the right thing as a leader. She had gone out, she fronted it, she had indicated the direction of travel, took all the backlash, and then reneged for some reason. And it didn't make sense to me because damage was also done in the markets. Gilt markets went up. They haven't come back down fully from when she made that decision. It's cost us lots of money. So why not do it?
Do it. Yeah, it makes sense as well, that.
Yeah, and I think it's how she could have done it, mate. I think is what's really interesting. I'm not saying that people on minimum wage, on basic rate tax, should have had a massive tax increase. Please don't get me wrong. I think that there are other sections in the industry in the economy that could have burdened that, take that burden a lot easier, and it really wouldn't have maybe have affected their lives as much, but would have helped out the rest of the economy and those on lower income.
No, I think you're right. We need you to go for a position in the Parliament.
No, I'm good, man.
We have seen him in Parliament a couple of times this year, haven't we, Joe?
Yeah. I'm happy to go in, mate, and share my knowledge. I think it's a very thankless task, and it's something I'm probably not thick-skinned enough, even after 13 years in the umbrella industry, to go into politics.
No, I think I agree on that. I think no matter what you do, there's going to be people who are going to hate you. No matter what you do, you can come out and give everyone £1,000 for them to go spend on whatever you want, and people then winch and say it's only £1,000. Why is it not £2,000?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's what I mean. It's sort of damn if you do, damn if you don't. I think not to harp on about the leadership thing. That's why you've got to make the tough decisions. That's kind of what we're all paid to do.
No, I think leadership's important, and obviously we've asked you a couple of questions on that because it's something that we are generally passionate about, and hopefully he doesn't listen to this episode. But Killian's someone who obviously he is a very good leader, and obviously there's a huge tenure of what we do at Kintech as well, and that kind of comes from him as well. To be honest, he's got to get the credit for that. And leaders do make a difference. It's easy. It's if a leader knows what they're doing, it really does change. No matter what it is, it could be business, it could even be something in sport. We've seen football teams, sport teams, rugby teams, the way they move and transform. It does come from the top.
It really does, yeah. And I think it's kind of when I look at when I first took on actually a directorship role at Liquid Friday, and I was making that leap from management into leadership. Some people there's some fantastic people in our industry that I've worked with for over a decade, and they were very honest with me, and they were like, so you need to stop being busy. That's the first thing as a leader, because what you don't want is your top leadership to be at 100% or even 90%, because when something happens, and something always does, or there's a wonderful change in legislation, you need to find another 50-60% of energy overnight. So you can't sort of just ignore it or just keep adding it on. That's how you get burnout. So yeah, leadership, for me is an interesting one, because when I used to sit, all the way back when I was a young student, I used to be on the phones in a call center, and the CEO would walk through, and you're thinking, well, what are they doing? They're just going for lunch, or they're just doing this, or they're just doing that. They are, but that's because they're needed for when they're needed. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I sit at home 3 days a week watching, This Morning or anything, but at the same time, you shouldn't be maxed out. And I think that's something that I struggled with when I started leadership, because you feel like, oh my God, I've got all this responsibility. We want to make all these changes and run as fast as we can. And then all of a sudden something does happen, and you've got no more gas in the tank. And that's the worst place to be in as a leader.
Yeah, I think one thing that leaders struggle with is actually passing on some of that responsibility. But like you said there, Joe, you can't do everything. And if you sort of set yourself to do anything, like you say, you're going to burn out. You've got to let some of it go. You've got to delegate.
Yeah, I was going to say delegation's crucial, isn't it? Really.
Yeah, and it's kind of it's weird. If you think about it, but as you go through management, delegating, things like, oh, can you, do you mind taking that call, or do you mind doing this, or do you mind doing that? That's fine. It's when all of a sudden, and the thing I found definitely COO, CEO is when you're sort of saying to someone, delegating, or can you just knock up the marketing strategy for the next 2 years. Like, that's a huge, can you basically what you're saying is to your head of marketing, can you just decide what I'm going to talk about for the next 2 years, please? Yeah, that is a huge delegation, but that comes down to that trust thing. They know, if you've done your job as a board and written, or hopefully written, or you've put together a really good strategy, then everybody else can hang off of that, and feed into it. And that's kind of your job as a board. We're called directors because we're meant to set direction. We're not supposed to do everyone's work for them. And I think that is something that, I found difficult in my management sort of journey into leadership, was that realization that, I don't have to check every email. I don't have to listen to calls. I don't have to attend every meeting. But I'm getting there. There is always that feeling that you want to just fix stuff and make it easier for your staff. But you've got to realize you're not making it easier. You're probably just, pissing them off.
Well, getting to some of the nicer questions now, Joe, shall we say? Obviously, we've mentioned when you're at Liquid Friday, you help them win multiple awards and lots of recognition. Probably one of the questions that always come up in these sort of things is, where do you see Ovio in 5 years then?
So I think it will, definitely will be leading the industry with regards to change. That is absolutely, slam dunk. That's why I'm here. I think, if you want to look at it on the numbers wise, then we'll definitely be within that top 5, top 10 space. We're well on the way to that already. But really, I think the most important thing is just changing the conversation. I think, positioning our industry in a slightly different way. That would be, that's where I'd want to be. Winning awards, being recognised is lovely, and it's really nice from a team building, and marketing kind of point of view, but it isn't the be all and end all. I will never understand, and not casting aspersions of anyone in the industry, but I would never understand why people employ people to write their submissions for awards. Is not my thing. I haven't mentioned anyone's names. It's something that we just...
I recorded a conversation 12 months ago, Joe. That's all.
It's just something I would never do. And I was, very, very proud of the team at Liquid when obviously they won their award last year, and very well deserved. Yeah. But yeah, so for me, receiving those awards, receiving that kind of recognition, it's more of a kind of pat on the back. You're going in the right direction. Well done to the team. Move on. What's the next thing? Yeah. For me, it's things like client feedback that's important. It's the stories we all have in our industry of how we've helped real people, whether that be, putting a hand in our pockets and advancing someone so they can just get some food in for the kids over the weekend, or we've done loads of stuff in the past, supplying people with tools and PPE and that sort of stuff way ahead of time in order for them to go and win the gig. That's stuff that matters. So yeah, for me, in 5 years, I would love to be sitting here as a looking after north of sort of 5-10,000 contractors as a metric, I suppose. Yeah. And really just seeing that change in the industry and getting our clients to understand all the value adds that we do.
Amazing, love that. Obviously, one thing I'm going to say is you're very active on LinkedIn. I think that's safe to say.
Yeah.
And like myself, you like the occasional selfie or train selfie.
I mainly do them when you do them, if you've noticed.
Is that what it is? That's good. I'll try and do more then.
God, please don't.
But I think this kind of brings me to a question, because I think this is something that myself and Stuart are very big on. But how do you think authenticity on social media impacts things like connections and leaderships? Because obviously for us it's really important, but it's quite interesting to see what your thoughts on that is as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think authenticity is the most important word in that. I cannot abide the post. No, I will never write. Well, I hope I will never have. So someone's going to go back and check now. But I would never write a post that's kind of Ovio's had its best ever week. It's we're absolutely smashing it. Numbers are through the it kind of comes across as desperate, because if you felt like that, you'd probably tell your family and just go for a curry. Like, I don't know why you would put it on LinkedIn except you're overcompensating. So for me, authenticity is the most important thing. I would rather put something on social media that genuinely means something to me and something that I can, when I do meet you at an event, remember I wrote it, and B, stand by it. So I started Joe Blogs, like, by the way, I don't know why it took us a decade to think of Joe Blogs. But wild, but it did. I started Joe Blogs a few years ago, mainly because I wanted to write some more longer form content than just the short kind of content you get on posts. But I was super, super aware that I work in a very interesting industry where people will just assume I've paid a copywriter to write all my stuff, or I'm using AI. But B, I think the most important thing for me was it had to come from me, because if I was sitting, a few times, like Stuart, I've met you at an event and you're like, oh, I really enjoyed your blog a few weeks ago. If I'm just like, like, I don't really know what I wrote. It's kind of, it's really obvious. And I've met lots of people where I love their content. I don't think they wrote it once I've actually spoke to them about it. So for me, authenticity is the most important thing. That then leads to trust. And then trust is what leads to business. So I don't think there's like a hard and fast rule. I don't know about you boys, but like, my content wildly varies on engagement.
Mine's the same. I think my most popular one in the last couple of months was my question about what sauce do you put on a bacon sandwich.
Yeah, no, I get it. I think, I mean, the most probably one that had the most engagement for me over the last 12 months was me literally resigning from my role at LF, which is like, okay, I can't keep resigning to get these kind of like these hits. It's not necessarily great, but it's wild. I think people engage with such different content. Today I've put up a really quick poll because genuinely we're arguing about something across on our kind of WhatsApp group in the office about how much people love or hate. It's very Marmite. Voice notes. I hate them. I don't understand them. Thank you.
I hate them.
Thank you, mate. You can vote later if you want.
You know what? The worst thing is about them, right? And I've no offense to anyone who's listening to this or new voice notes, but I hate the fact that I'm stood like this, pulling probably the worst skirt ever. They're trying to think.
Yes. And
then when I see that it's more than 2 minutes long, I'm like, please do it to me, my friend.
Necessary at all. Not necessary. But
there's definitely a joint friend of ours that he sends me voice notes and I just reply, I haven't listened. Like, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to sit on a train like a weirdo and listen to you moan and then get distracted about other stuff. And, just ring me. I don't get it. I don't call me. If it's that important, you need to put it in writing. Put it in writing. Yeah. I just don't get them. I hate them. But that's the kind of, important thing to me is like, that's doing really well today, for example. Something I write that could be really, really important and add lots of value to people about the legislation change gets like 200 views and like one comment. So it makes no sense to me sometimes, the algorithm. Yep. But I think it is so important now. It is a genuine tool, but it's one of many.
Yeah, I agree. And I think one thing that I've always tried to do is just be myself. I think that's why I put humour on, because I'm a humorous person. Like, and I think that's just the way I am. And I tend to try and comment as I would if I was saying that's the person's face as well.
Yeah. No, I would never. I've always had to think, if I'm not willing to say it face to face, I'm never going to put it on LinkedIn or write it. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. I like
that.
Yeah, I'm never going to be a keyboard warrior. If I'm going to, and chances are, if I did put something in, I would see you 2 weeks later at an event and you'll bring it up. Like, you've got to be able to stand by what you say.
Yeah, definitely. So, Joe, we've already mentioned your nomination for your Inspirational Men's Award. Obviously, good luck for tomorrow night.
Thank you, mate.
It's obviously a little bit away from business, I think. But so what does that mean to you personally? That recognition?
This one's huge because it's I had no idea I was being nominated. So it's completely anonymous. In Portsmouth, it's run by a fantastic local charity called the Parenting Network, and they have quite a few different arms to their charity. But it was recognised. I think it is quite widely recognised. That men's mental health is sometimes overlooked, or you've got that awful, which is banned, by the way. If anyone ever says it to me, I'll just walk away from him. That man up thing. It's kind of it's a very difficult space to talk in. And then there's a quite a large, for me, it's kind of difficult to when I first saw the men's awards in Portsmouth, I was like, oh, that's going to go down well. Like, that's really uncomfortable, because every day is like a man's day, and I do appreciate that. But actually, as I got looked into it more, I thought, no, men still deserve to be recognised. Just because our forefathers, quite literally, weren't necessarily, the best. It doesn't mean that we should punish every man moving forward for never being successful. So, yeah, the men's awards, it was something that I was surprised about. When I got the email to say I've been nominated, I was shocked, and yeah, quite humbled really, because from what I understand from the panel, my business sort of stuff is a part of it. But actually, it's a lot of the other stuff I do in Portsmouth that's kind of got me the shortlist.
Excellent.
Well done, mate.
I think you should be really proud
Cheers.
of yourself. Really, Joe. I think it's fantastic. To get
No,
something like that, as you say, you don't know who's nominated you. So you have obviously made a big impact in some person's life for them to do that for you. So I think it's massive.
Yeah.
So congratulations.
Yeah, no, I would love to know who, because obviously you want to go and say thank you, because you do want to say thank you. I kind of get that is the point, is that it's meant to be anonymous. So
There's something cute about it being anonymous, though.
yeah, I really like it. I really, really like it, and I believe we get to see sort of what they've written about you, because you kind of get hopefully multiple nominations.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is nice to know that actually all this stuff that we do in business, all this umbrella stuff and all this other bits and bobs we do, it enables me to do some other things within Portsmouth that I kind of feel really passionate about.
Brilliant.
Legacies is really important, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, and I think
I love that.
I did a podcast, maybe a year or so ago, and I kind of said, the pursuit of profit is boring. When you're looking at businesses, but completely, critical. You do to do the fun stuff, if you want to call it that, to do the stuff that's, community outreach, all the social value stuff, all the mentoring, all the financial support you can give to charities, you have to have the profit. So I fully appreciate, generating profit for shareholders is important. But actually, for me, generating profit in order to deliver social value, in order to deliver support to those that need it, is kind of what gets me out of bed in the morning.
Amazing. Do you know, Joe, all of these things you've done, and you've also completed your MBA.
Yeah, but that came from the imposter syndrome. So
Right. Okay.
I will always remember when I joined the board of the FCSA. That was 10 plus years ago. So I was mid 20s. I was young, and I was made. Back then, there used to be a bit of an old boys club kind of joke about the FCSA, and I sort of came in as the young blood. But I was very much made aware that I was kind of the T-boy, and it was a very uncomfortable time, and it didn't help my imposter syndrome being kind of treated that way. So I was very conscious of that. I then had the opportunity to take on a directorship at Liquid Friday. And one of my things was, absolutely, I want to grow this business, love that business, put most of my career into that business. But I want to go and invest in myself and do this MBA and this strategic leadership qualification. So yeah, that's why I did it, is because I kind of didn't feel good enough just in my kind of experience, even though I've been in the industry by that point by nearly a decade, I still felt that actually I don't have a bit of paper that says I'm good enough. So yeah, that's why I kind of went off and did it. It took me about 3 months to realize that was absolute bollocks. And I was good enough, and I
I was just
loved
about
it.
to ask that. Did you actually kind of answer my question? I was going to ask you though. Did the MBA prove that you never needed it? And you kind of answered that already.
It, yeah, it kind of proved. Well, it kind of proved I was being a bit. I was probably being too tough on myself, but it definitely gave me confidence. So if you just
That's
look at my kind of output over the last 2 or 3 years, it stepped up a gear. That thing I told you about not being busy all the time, the
yeah.
MBA really teaches you that kind of.
All right. Okay.
It taught me to slow down. So I think, I've always worked in this industry that's so fast paced, and I worked in one of the businesses, back at, I talk about Liquid a lot, but when I was at Liquid, we were kind of known for being, very fast adopters of technology, or being very quick, or, always come up with a solution, being a solution led business. That kind of created a culture of go fast, go fast, go fast, go fast, grow, 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 bigger, bigger, bigger. And that's great. But then when I took that time in the leadership and I sort of digested, the MBA stuff, it was like, that's great, but it doesn't stop the need for a strategy.
Yeah.
So yeah, it slowed me down and made me more considered. And then did give me more confidence because I did have the theoretical knowledge that I'd learned, whilst at university. And the other thing that no one ever talks about when you do an MBA, so I highly recommend anyone to do one, is you build another network. So I had a really strong umbrella and recruitment network. I could talk to nearly anyone in our industry and probably get a meeting. To go and meet people from very, very large businesses, from, likes of BAE, from Kingfisher, from the civil service, it just creates this another network that you have access to, which just added so much value to how I chose to lead the team.
Brilliant. So you'd highly recommend somebody doing an MBA then, Joe? Yeah.
Yeah.
How long did it
Yeah.
take? How long did it take you to achieve it whilst you were working?
2 years.
Well, that's not too bad then.
Yeah. It's pretty good. It's intense.
Yeah.
In 2 years, you can do it over longer. I obviously I'm me, so I chose to do it as quickly as possible. But I loved the structure it gave. It's a big investment for the business as well, because I was out of the business for 20%.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously at a director level, you're never really out of the business, but in theory, I was out of the business for 20% of my week.
Yeah.
But I think what the business saw was kind of instant impact. So I could literally go and learn something around, I don't know, ethics. We did quite a lot of ethics kind of based stuff. And I could finish that on a Tuesday. Wednesday morning, I'd pulled the management team in and I was like, right, we're kind of missing. This is a missing piece of the jigsaw at the business. Bring in the management team, talk about it, implement it, and then by the time I went back the following week, I had a worked example,
right,
of it happening. So, there's benefit for me, there's benefit for the business, and I would highly, highly recommend it.
Brilliant. Well, we're getting to the final question for me, I think. So, going to the opposite end of the scale, what sort of advice would you give to somebody either early or right at the very beginning of their career then, Joe?
Try new things.
Yeah.
Definitely. Don't religiously stick to, no, I decided I was going to be a teacher so when I was 12, so that's what I'm going to be. I think try new things, take that risk. I think if I was actually a little bit more aware of contracting, I probably would have tried to do it earlier on myself, to try new, different industries, different setups. And then just be really honest.
Yeah.
Just don't fake it. I know there's all this fake it till you make it. If it's making you unhappy, don't.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
No, I agree.
I think a lot of cultures have changed now, haven't they? So you can do that. It's like my nephew Fred. He went off to university back in September. It wasn't for him. He came home after 2 weeks, and I'll be honest with you. My brother was pretty disappointed. But I turned around to him and said, "Look, Fred's had the bottle to come and tell you this, that it's not right for him." I said, if he's stuck at that to make his parents happy, one, he's not going to be happy. And also, two, the potential outcome is just not even worth thinking about. So I was actually really proud of Fred that, he had the bottle to turn around and do that, because that wouldn't have been the case in my day. It would have been, no, I've got to do this because that's what I've been told I've got to do almost. And that's showing me age there, but
Big shout out to Fred.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, I think just to end it on that, there's something you just said that I actually really love, is that people get told fake it to make it, but I think that's the problem with the current society, current culture, because I think people go on social media, see these fake lifestyles, and they think, oh, I need that.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality is that lifestyle's not genuine.
Doesn't exist.
No.
There is no one out there doing what they're doing and willing to share it with you. So I think you're right, be yourself, do something you love. I think that's a great takeaway from today. And one thing I do want to also, as we wrap up to the final fun bits, really is something you said as well, that you learn as part of the MBA. I think for anyone who's being leaders, anyone doing anything, I think it's important to leave that 10-20%. I think there will be times where shit hits the fan, excuse my French, and I think that's when you need that extra 10-20% to really, or 30% to really push yourself and fix it. So I think that they're huge takeaways, and I hope every people do take that away with them today.
Right, fun bits now, Joe.
Amazing. Yeah, so Joe, we've asked you a lot of questions, so thank you for that. But this is my favourite question. What's a fun fact about you that most people won't know?
Oh, that's a tough one. I kind of similar, but like claim to fame was my left elbow was on Sky News, and that's it. That's all I've got, pretty much.
What was it on?
Your left
on Sky News. I was on. Someone was being interviewed. I'll say someone. My mum was being interviewed, and I was standing next to her. And ironically, when I told that it was always like, when you go to these really awkward like ice breaking things. That's always my one. Someone literally said that their right elbow was on Sky News. So turns out,
brilliant.
It's a thing.
Brilliant. We'll probably spend days now on YouTube looking at old Sky News for many moons.
Joe's elbow.
It's my elbow.
So the next one, Joe, is the quick fire this and that round. So literally, we're just going to put something to you. Obviously, this or that, see which one it is. So, am I running through all of these, Amin, or are we alternating?
You, mate. You take lead.
Okay, right. Joe, early bird or night owl?
Night owl.
Tea or coffee?
Tea.
Calls or emails? I think we know this one.
Calls.
Yeah, that's right.
My voice notes?
Never. And I will block you.
Have to change it for voice notes. This is one of Amin's favourite. Be famous for your work or super rich but unknown?
Ooh. Famous for work. Probably more important.
Right. Okay. Cool.
You know what? I think you're the first person who's ever agreed with me on that one.
Really?
In these talks. Yeah.
Everyone
goes for super rich but unknown.
But
hey, one must follow the other.
I think
flying or invisibility, Joe?
Flying.
Excellent. And the next one, I'm pretty torn on because I think you do both of these. Beach or city breaks?
Ah.
You had to pick one forever.
It depends what the government has decided to throw at us. City break, normally.
City break. Fantastic. Anywhere in particular, Joe?
Favourite city is Prague. Absolutely love it. Verona. Anywhere with history,
Nice.
mate. I'm in.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Have you been to Rome before? Because that's on my bucket list and I haven't been yet.
I don't want to either. No. Looks really busy all the time. And Verona I think is much nicer from what I've been told.
I can't handle busy places. I get told by my wife I'm far too antisocial, which in the role I'm doing, I should not be antisocial. Maybe I just leave it all work. Yeah.
I don't mind busy places. It's quite. It's all right. Keeps you lively.
Give me the mountains any
Apart
day.
from London, I can't stand London.
I say that while sitting in central London. So
yeah.
It's quiet in here, but wait till I go outside.
Well, Joe,
Amazing.
that just about winds us up. Thank you so much for coming on board and doing this with us.
Thank you.
Really enjoyed it. Found out loads more about you. Loads and interesting to boot.
And your elbow.
And Joe's elbow. Yeah, that's going to be our Kinsec Christmas competition. Please find Joe's elbow.
I think it was 1997. So good luck finding that on YouTube.
No problem at all.
Wow.
Okay, Joe. Well, as I say, thank you very much indeed, and we'll hopefully speak soon. And is it too early to say all the best for Christmas and the New Year?
Nah, I've seen loads of trees.
No, my Christmas tree's up.
He had a Christmas cup in his office back in the beginning of October, Joe.
I mean, I love Christmas, but I also kind of like the seasons. So at least I do wait until, maybe next weekend I might put it up.
I'll send you a voice note next week then, Joe.
Cheers, I won't read it. Or listen to it.
Brilliant. Okay, well, as I say, thank you very much, Joe. Really appreciate it.
Cheers, guys. See you later.
Take care, buddy. Good luck tomorrow night as well.
Thank you.
Yeah. Cheers. Bye.
Bye.